This is another edition of the Bloody Legends with Jim and myself, Jai, that Aussie metal guy. Be a legend and hit that like and subscribe. G'day, how the hell are you all going? Yes, it is Jai, that Aussie metal guy, here with my awesome co-host, Jim. This is the Bloody Legends podcast, and today we're talking some Doom. We have Ol Time Moonshine out of Toronto and Ontario.
Wonderful.
We have Chris and Bill. Cheers, guys.
Nice to meet you, Jay.
What's going on, man?
Absolutely.
So how you been, Jim? A little bit late in
Wonderful.
the day, man. Internet was blocking Jim, but we got in there. People, as I was just saying before we jumped in, we're across 3 time zones. We've got you guys up in Toronto, me in Australia, and we've got Jim over in the US.
Correct.
So it's going to be an absolute pleasure to dive into some Doom metal. First off, introduce yourselves, Chris and Bill.
Well, you've done a good job already. I'm Bill Cole. I'm the singer, and I play guitar in Ol Time Moonshine. Chris?
Awesome.
And I'm Chris, and I play guitar as well with Bill and Ol Time Moonshine.
Awesome.
This is so rad. Wonderful to meet you guys, man.
This is going to be a lot of fun. We are here to talk about the Hexslinger film clip, which is going to drop off of your album Magic, which dropped last year, August 2022. But I took this opportunity to catch up with you guys and kind of find out a little bit more about Ol Time Moonshine, because I really dug the fucking hell out of the Magic album. Dove back into the Apocalypse trilogy, Space Wolf and Other Dark Tales, which was an absolute bloody blast, and the Demon Haunted World, man. First off, can you tell me how this all kind of began, where Ol Time Moonshine started?
Chris, you want to take the lead on this one?
Yeah, man. Well, me and Bill had played, prior bands, before Ol Time Moonshine. We had been playing shows together, for years. Unfortunately, those bands kind of came to an end, but, me and Bill's friendship kind of became stronger at that point. And we kind of talked about, getting together and writing some songs and some jams. And out of nowhere, Ol Time Moonshine came to be, man. And honestly, yeah, it's been the best thing we've ever done. Like I couldn't be happier playing with Bill and the guys we've got now. And it's pretty awesome.
We got a really good crew. We got Jesse Makowitz, who plays bass, who wasn't able to be with us tonight, and also Adam Sadie on drums. Both amazing guys that have really brought a lot to the band. With both the recording of Magic and with the new music that we're working on presently.
Yeah, that Demon Haunted World did come out in 2013. What was that period like, making that first album, coming out of those other bands you were in and going in and getting that first one down?
Well, we did back then. We were doing a lot more self-recording, DIY. We didn't even really think about going into the studio for that one. We, Chris and I had gotten together and pieced together like 2 or 3 songs, and then it sort of built out from there. And we were really happy with the direction it was going. So we decided to sort of create a demo out of that, which became the Demon Haunted World EP. And see what we could do with it, and it got some really good results. We got some interest from a label out of Connecticut called Salt of the Earth Records that put out the next record, the Apocalypse trilogies, and as well as Magic. And they've put out some really amazing bands over the last few years as well. They've got some good releases coming up. But we were label mates with Scissor Fight. With some really amazing bands out of the New England scene, like Buzzard Canyon, who are like a really cool band that are on Argonauta Records now. But Scott of the Earth, Scott Harrington, the guy that runs the label, he's just we were talking just before the interview started about giving back to the scene. He's just a guy that he bleeds love for music. And he just does everything he can to possibly, promote music and develop music and help musicians. He's just he's been an amazing friend along the way with the band. So,
well,
back to you. But that period, it was exciting for us because we didn't really have a defined sound immediately, but it, sort of gelled really quickly, and it, became kind of cohesive pretty quickly. So it was sort of
for sure,
we didn't have to force anything, I guess. So it felt really natural.
Yeah.
And a killer bloody cover on it too. I'm just going to share that one up there for everyone to bloody have a look, man. You got some good bloody cover art there, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. I didn't do the caricatures. That was I apologize. I don't even recall his name anymore. But but that's one of the things I've done to like personally give back to the scene. Is I do a lot of art. So I've done a lot of art for our stuff, including the cover for Magic and and this one.
Awesome.
But also for a lot of other bands and for festivals in the U.S. Here in Canada. Just try to help the bands get a little bit more attention by maybe sort of pushing their image a little bit further in having something that they can promote themselves a bit better with. Anyway,
Heck
I'm
yeah.
rambling.
No, you're not, man. You keep rambling, dude. We're all going to keep a rambling.
We live in
dude.
rambling. You're all good.
Keep rambling on, man. Can you tell us, guys, how you both picked up guitar? Like, tell me a little bit about the story of the first when you first started guitar and how kind of you picked all this up.
I took it back in high school, man. I just took, music classes, but honestly never paid attention to the teacher. We all kind of sat in the back with Guitar World magazines on our guitar stands and like pay attention to that. And like when the exams would come up, we'd all just be like cheating off each other for tests and all magically sail through that. But at the end of the day, I didn't want to sit there and play classical music, and I wanted to play the style that we play now. And it just kind of it grew from there, from high school till sadly to how old we are now. So yeah.
Yeah, for me, my cousin needed a bass player. So he's like, you should buy a bass so you can play bass in my band. So I did. And, that's where it started for me when I was 15. And, other than like a brief period after college, I pretty much played in bands ever since then. And I'm not the kind of guy that's, taken a lot of lessons and theory and stuff like that. I'm mostly self-taught, but I've always played with other musicians, which I think has really helped develop my sort of style as well. And you probably notice a little bit like that Kristen and I don't always play the exact same thing on the guitar. We sort of have a bit of interplay in what we do. So, there's a little bit of, push and pull and give and take with what we play against each other. So
and
that comes from that sort of jammy vibe.
Yeah, because that struck me listening to your riffs. I'm not sure where, and this is a great thing where one of you starts and the other finishes, and that's a very cool meld. Meld, play from the gut. It's like, well, I know Phrygian, I know this, and who cares? if it works, it works. And the riffs,
exactly.
I mean what I said when I texted you guys, and the stank face is real. Every riff you guys did, I was just like,
your message made my day today, man. I could have, after that point, I could have cared less what would happen, man. Like that message made my morning. Because like you said, like you guys said earlier, man, like we're not doing this because we're living in mansions.
Right.
Like we do this because we love the style of music we play, man. We love playing together and stuff like that.
You live for the riff, man.
Yeah, dude. And like getting messages like that, I was like yes. Look, that was beautiful, man. Thank you.
Yes,
beautiful.
Sir.
Thank you.
No,
Thank
absolutely. No, but it's just so you're wearing a Caius hat, but I hear you have so many. You have the beautiful thing about and not it's easy to categorize something as stoner metal, but that's where heavy music came from, is that fuzzy sound. So you have bands like Sleep, The Obsessed, Black Sabbath, Caius, even Mastodon,
Trouble,
and you guys just it is just neck deep in the groove that you guys have, but you also have throwbacks to classic rock. Is that I don't want to label you guys in any way.
No. That's totally appropriate.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, 70s classic rock and like proto metal, and like the 80s, like sort of like a little bit of the punk and hardcore, a little bit, not a lot, but some of that. And then the like sort of the 90s metal, like Danzig and Soundgarden, the grunge scene and stuff like that. Like things that all influence us. And then like the late 90s stoner and the early 2000s and so on. Like it's
for
just
sure.
All that kind of melted all together and then spit back out. So it's that's kind of what we do.
It's kind of like prog though, Doom, isn't it? Like you can just playing
Yeah.
the stuff you
1000%,
want,
Jay.
really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And go,
1000%, Jay.
listening to like your albums, there's so many different influences and genres you can kind of hear in there, and it's kind of labeled as doom, but you can hear all these different influences you have, guys. What are some of those influences that have inspired you as musicians?
For me, man, I'm a really, really big Alice in Chains fan. Like going back to the
Absolutely.
beginning, like, and it was funny earlier when you're naming all these scales and stuff. Like me and Bill always joke about our proficiency on the guitar, man. But for us, for our style, it's less is more. You know what I mean? It's more about the feel than like filling it with like 100 notes. I'm not looking to fill 100 notes for a solo, man. I rather play from the gut than anything else.
Sir.
Like listening to Jerry Cantrell is like just some of his stuff is it's magical, man. It's such good stuff, So for me, that's where I think a lot of it's based from too.
Oh
Yeah, like for me, I've always been a big Danzig fan too. So like, there's a little bit of the guitar of John Christ and the vocals of Glenn Danzig and what I do, but Lemmy from Motorhead's another influence that you might hear in the vocal
absolutely.
a little bit, and just in sort of like the rawness in certain parts, that definitely comes, and of course Sabbath. Like you can't play any sort of form of doom metal without referencing Sabbath somewhat, but I wouldn't say that we're like a Sabbath sounding band, but there's definitely some riffs that are informed by that.
I love the fact that we don't sound like one band. Like we sound like you
not
hear
at all.
so many different things. It's not.
There's so much. Yeah, no, absolutely. So I on my drive into work, I listened to you guys all morning. Drinking my coffee, having a smoke. It was great. And it just, you could not. Well, that's why I sent you that the stank face.
yeah.
It just has that, like, that's what's up. And it just if you can't sing, or I'm sorry, if you can't sing the guitar line like that, you could sing your guitar lines, which was fabulous. Not only your vocal lines, but your guitar lines. Like, to sing those, like, man, you remember that, and you're thinking about it, and it's just that groove and a half. So, oh my God, amazing.
So speaking of that there, Jim, elaborate a little more on that, Bill there and Chris. When you are songwriting, tell me a little bit about the songwriting process between you guys.
Well, we're going through that right now. We're going through that right now.
Yeah, and it's actually changed with this album because now we have 4 voices. Like before, Chris and I were like much more the primary songwriters. Like there'd be some ideas and things that came in from the other guys, but the riffs were largely coming from Chris and I. And then now we've got a little bit more input from Jesse and Adam as well. But when we are working back and forth, like Chris usually comes up with I would say he comes up with like 70% of the riffs, and he'll come in with most of the riffs kind of fully formed and a couple riffs put together, and the rest of us will sort of like just kind of, we're like the 3M. We don't change it. We make it better, and then we just sort of build from there. And like once in a while I'll come in with like a song fully written, or I'm, because again, like I grew up playing just mostly with other musicians, I tend to write a lot of riffs in quick little improv jam session kind of things, and I'll come up with an idea, and then it kind of flows from there quickly, and we come up with a structure. So that's kind of like usually how our stuff comes together, and then I usually write most of the lyrics or all of the lyrics up to this point, with some input from the other guys, and that's kind of how our stuff comes together.
With the good thing now though is like with having Adam and Jesse, like it's like they're monsters of what they do. Like it's to have Adam behind the kit. I
He's
can't
a very
even
creative
explain
drummer.
He's insane, man. Like sometimes I have to catch myself when we're playing, because he'll throw shit out of his hat that none of us have heard, and it will just I'll forget when I'm playing because it's so friggin' good. Yeah, man. And then he picks up the guitar and he's playing riffs that we could easily drop on the album, And then Jesse's throwing songs, constantly at us, and ideas, like it's having them in the band is a constant motivating factor, man, because they're always raring to go. They're always wanting, to write. They want to play shows. So it's keeping us motivated to get shit done. And they're throwing so many good ideas into the hat. So I'm stoked to get the new album, get going, man. Get back in the studio as soon as possible.
Yeah, well, that's
Adam's
good.
a funny guy too.
Yeah, you go, Bill.
Just say Adam is a funny guy too, because he'll be like super quiet all the time, and then he'll just come out with this like gem of wisdom from out of nowhere, and you're like, no, of course,
The coach.
That's the answer.
That's the coach.
He's the coach. Yeah, we call him the coach.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, well, it's got to be good having these guys that kind of motivate and inspire you, because you know what I mean. It was 2016. You brought the Apocalypse trilogies out, and what was that, like 5-6 years or something like that in between Magic as well. So, and you guys must be keen to kind of, now you've had that Magic album come out last year in 2022. You got this Hexlinger film clip coming up as well, which is it the first official film clip for you guys?
We did a lyric video before, but
I've seen the lyric video, but I couldn't find any actual film clips with your beautiful faces up there, guys.
We are pretty handsome now that you say it. But...
Yes, absolutely.
No, this is our first. This is our first official. First official video.
Yeah, what was it like getting in there and doing that?
Well, we talked about doing it for a long time, and then we just decided we were going to do it. We're like, let's just set a date and do it. So we actually shot it all completely ourselves. I borrowed some gear from a lovely company down the block from where I work, and like some curtains and some lights, and we brought my video camera down to the rehearsal space, set it all up, and shot that. Grabbed some stock footage to go with it that I think very much complements the other footage, and our drummer Adam edited it together, and here you are. So it's really a DIY like thing for us.
Cool.
And but I don't think that it suffers from that in any way either. So
not at all, man. I love it. Not even because it's our video. Yeah, I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's cool, because it's awesome to see, man. After all this time, the effort that we put into it, and what the result we got from it. It looks so badass, man. I love it. Adam did a great job in editing everything together.
Cool.
Yeah, man. It's just kind of like, it's just kind of what we do. I mean, like everything is kind of like,
and for us, like growing up too, like music videos were like a very formative part of our like music, thing.
Oh,
too.
sure.
So like, there's a definite connection, to our generation with like the music video as an art form that maybe isn't as much a thing anymore, because there's not like your traditional MTVs, and up here it was much music. It's not quite like that anymore. There's a lot more,
much music. I discovered so many bands through that. Oh my God. And I was gonna say that's probably a great medium for you guys. Is that like you'll get some coverage with.
Chris was actually. Chris was a guest VJ on it once.
Oh, get out! That's so cool.
Yeah, man. I did. I hosted an episode. It was a show called Much Takeover. So you have to enter a contest, yada yada. And I got to host my own. I think it was 2-hour episode. And
back when they played music clips.
Yeah, man. It was
exactly.
Pretty funny. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. How important that medium was of not only film clips but also radio. That seems to be for me. Putting on the radio, and you put on your metal show, and you wouldn't have any fucking idea where this DJ was taking you, and you'd hear some bands and you'd hear other bands that you'd never heard before. Like, for example, when I play you guys on the radio, people were like, oh, fuck. I was the same growing up. I'd hear bands on the radio, and I'd have my little notepad, I'd write it down, or I'd have one of Mum's old cassettes with a little bit of sticky tape.
Yeah, man.
And that was how I discovered music. And these days, it feels like streaming cycles and digital fucking kind of people are forgetting what a joy it is to find new bands, to discover new music.
You're stuck in the path of a fire hose.
Yeah.
It's like having a fire hose shot at your face of like new music constantly. Just so much. And it's the same with streaming television and all that too. It's like, what do you choose? And it's almost like you almost want those gatekeepers back to like, program things so that you're like, oh, okay, I see where this is going. Because, back, that's, I was able to discover a lot more. And now I find I go to the comforts of the things I'm more familiar with because I don't want to look for an hour
I
necessarily.
did the same thing, Bill, for years, and it wasn't until I started really doing this music media stuff nearly 6 years ago that I rediscovered what a fucking joy it was to hear new music, listen to whole albums, and just not get stuck in that comfort zone of listening to the handful of bands that I was always listening to. You know what I mean? When I got the email about you guys, I was like, fuck yeah, jumped into it, and I was blown away, listening to some new music, listening to whole albums, and for me, it was an absolute fucking joy. And I think some people forget what a joy that can be to discover new bands and put on an album and just immerse yourself in it.
And your full albums are on a wonderful medium with Bandcamp. And you know, to directly support you guys, you know, through and bands in general, not just you, no offense. But bands in general to be like, you have not only can I listen to the record, I want to buy the record. Do they have shirts? Do they have hats? Do they have, you know, you're invested at this point. You know, it's like the Kiss Army kind of thing. You know what I mean? So and you represent, you know, you want to represent not only the band you listen to. So you're hearing not only the record, then you're like, man, I want to wear, you know, the swag and be like, have you heard these guys? Like, and then because it not only that, it starts a dialogue with people like, who the hell are these guys? You haven't heard these guys? Are you kidding? You know, like, hey, check it out. And then there's that medium. But
yeah, that's kind of where we come into the social media now, when you're sharing film clips to people and going, oh, check this out and shit. And you don't have to, you know what I mean? It used to be a lot fucking, you know, CDs back when you were younger, or fucking tapes and mixtapes and that. Now it's like,
man.
Now you're sending tracks to people, go check this shit out. You know,
go check it out. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
I was totally that dude making the compilations for people in high school and college.
Same.
Like, you need to listen to this, you know, like
you need to listen to this.
Yeah.
And as an artist,
Bill was my pusher for a lot of that.
Exactly. And as an artist, Bill, like the album art is a big thing for me too. You probably appreciate that as well, dude. Like growing up in that generation as well as you, Chris, like where album art was a big part of the listening experience as well.
Oh, absolutely. And the long box and like, you know, just fun, like, you know, music store experiences and, you know, going into a music store and like flipping through, and maybe you saw something risky or like, you know, like, it was exciting, you know, or like you saw a Meatloaf album and you thought like, this is going to be the darkest metal album ever.
Right.
And like the album cover fooled you.
Well, and it's funny. You know, I know one thing I do, especially with having, you know, I grew up on vinyl, you know, and I still remember for me when my dad, you know, so I listen to classical music. My dad had this record player, and I would put on the record, but I would be sitting there looking at the album art from the sleeve and be like, man, this exemplifies what this record sounds like. And you write yourself a story a little bit. And you're like, oh man. And it's like the vocalist is the narrator and the lead guitarist is, you know, it's kind of like an opera. It's like classical music in a type of way. You know what I mean? So like that's very
immersing
cool.
in your imagination in the music together kind of thing.
There's that Dungeons and Dragons thing. See, these kids today, they're like, oh, I play Xbox. I'm not knocking Xbox. I love that. But like my front man and I'm going to embarrass Lenny for a second here. We love Dungeons and Dragons. And actually, one of our projects is named after a Dungeons and Dragons book. And I said, using your imagination and what you guys have created in albums, where not only with the art, but with what you're creating musically, is you're creating a story. And it's like, all right, just shut off the phone, shut off the internet, and just put on this record, look at the album art, and write yourself a story.
That's the good thing
And
about a good doom metal album.
know,
You do feel like
yeah.
you've gone on a journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like I've
you're
listened to
on,
some good fucking doom metal, and when
yeah.
I'm finished with the album, like it feels
Yeah.
like I've gone on a journey. And at some points, my mind will be off in different directions and fucking just lost in it. Totally
Where's
immersed.
my broadsword? I want to go into Mordor. Let's do this shit, you know?
And bringing it back to gaming, doom metal is perfect for gaming.
Yes,
Xbox,
sir. Absolutely.
PlayStation, Nintendo, whatever you're looking at, mate. I was just sitting there yesterday, just lost.
Throw a bit of Skyrim.
It. Yeah, man.
Love Skyrim. Oh my god, yeah. But like that's the thing, you like to put on one of your records and be like, "Yo, I want to start hunting giants. Let's do it." You know. But you guys are creating stories, and that's what's so amazing.
Yeah, well, especially with like the Apocalypse trilogies, we really tried, you know, to create some story arcs, and you know, the concept, you know, in a drunken parking lot, you know, kind of session, group session.
Yes,
we came up with the concept of like a trilogy of trilogies. You know, like something ridiculous, like Final
That's so cool.
And so that's what we created. You know, I actually like to get the lyrics. I wrote short stories and then sort of reverse engineered the lyrics out of those kind of thing, and it was just kind of a neat way to like be creative in that space. And it was kind of fun.
There's some fancy artwork for it.
Look at that.
Well, yeah, man.
Part of my Patrick Sparrow.
Yeah.
Part of my ignorance. Oh, go ahead. No, I'm sorry. No.
I was just saying the artist is Patrick Carson Sparrow.
Yeah.
That's amazing looking, by the way.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
he's a great artist.
Awesome job.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
3 parts: the Tale of the Space Wolf, and then we had the Tales of the Blind Seer and Wizards of War, as you were mentioning. Man, that was an absolute cracker. What was it like making that album, dude?
Yeah,
we did that pretty much almost.
Again, that was we recorded the bass and drums in the studio, but we did all of the guitars and all the rest with our friend Dave Draper.
Yep.
And so, you know, it was again, you know, actually Magic is the first album we went into the studio and recorded with an engineer proper, like a studio environment. So
yeah, well, what was that like?
Going
that was amazing. That was a lot of fun, man.
Jumping into, you know, being DIY, then jumping into the studio after doing this kind of off your own backs before.
Yeah, well, before we had like unlimited time. So we could just, you know, you'll notice particularly on the first record that there's a lot of layers and the guitars and the vocals and that, you know, on the second time through, we got rid of some of that and we were a bit more focused. But, you know, by the time we went to record Magic, we had practiced it like, you know, infinity times. And, you know, that's one of the reasons.
But we also had to teach 2 new guys.
Yeah.
We had to teach the 2 new guys in the band.
Yep.
The entire album.
Break between
right.
We had the wheels fall off, you know, the band, and we had a couple of members leave and a couple new guys come in. So, you know, and then COVID hit, of course, and there was that whole slowdown from that. So it was just you know, getting to Magic was such a nice release at that point because we'd worked so hard to get there. And you know, we were really proud of how it turned out as well.
And the cover, I think you actually done the cover layout on that one, didn't you, Bill?
I did that one. Yeah.
You did.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
digital collage, but
it's. I made a shirt of that. That looks amazing.
Yeah, man, it's beautiful. The colors are so badass.
Yeah, they are. And they look even better when you grab the CDs and the physicals for it as well, people.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to ask about the track. I'm going to ask you about the track, please, man, because that one kind of was a really cool track as well. And I know something tomorrow I'm going to be like, well, I didn't ask about that track, or because that's what you do. You listen to albums, each one kind of grabs you to a different point. But I want to ask about that, please, one.
We recorded that with our good friend Angie from a band from Hull called Muffler Crunch, and they're just an amazingly creative band, and she's got such a powerhouse voice, and she really it's almost like a Janis Joplin quality to, like, you know, how she can just belt and like. But when I wrote the words, they were originally like about a couple breaking up, and it was such a negative thing and I didn't want so much like negativity in the song because it would make it like difficult to sing live kind of thing. So
Yeah.
Sure.
I went to the well, and it comes across as a love song, but it's actually a little bit about my emotions about my dad getting diagnosed with cancer,
Yep.
and sort of like losing a family member slowly
Right.
over time kind of thing. So like if you look at it at that light, it kind of turns the lyrics a little bit from what it first seems, but that's kind of what I was going for anyways, you know.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, that's kind of it's a very powerful song. I like not to toot my own horn, but like
it did.
Like it's got it dynamic, and like it builds, and like you know, Angie's voice is just
Angie's a powerhouse. Angie, Angie's a beautiful person. She's like Angie is just like she's incredible, man. Like watching her in the studio do what she does, like watching John at the booth, listen to her sing, and then she rips through it. He looks at us and he's like, hey, can you do that again one more time, Angie? She's like, why? Was it not good enough? He's like, no, man, I just want to hear you do it again.
Yeah,
because like it's
that's
so
cool, dude.
Man. Like she's just yeah, man, she's great. She's great.
Record. It's a good thing we did that close to live because otherwise I probably wouldn't have wanted to sing the rest of the album because it's just like she's. I was like, you do my vocals. Like, it was just so perfect. Like, it worked so well. Anyways, I keep cutting you guys off.
No. I'm doing the same thing. We're trying to out polite each other here.
We're Canadians. You're never going to beat us.
No. I was going to say I come from the same thing, and I've done this before with interviews. I'm like, oh dear God, I'm sorry. So it's one thing to record layers in the studio, and it's one thing to play all these songs live. Do you find ways of it's like, well, shit, we had like several layers of how we record this. Do you find a way live? It's like, well, we did this interesting thing last time. How do we make this different the next time we play a different like gig?
Yeah, we like to experiment a little bit, so we throw in like cello and organ and stuff like that on some of our songs.
Oh hell yeah!
And we don't really play those ones as much live because it's difficult to bring.
It's hard to reciprocate
live,
that. Yeah.
Without like bringing too many people on board,
Right.
So, but generally, the way we write and like the way Chris and my guitar playing sort of interplays. A lot of that, the way you hear it on the album, is pretty much how you hear it live.
It's all live,
especially with Magic. Especially with Magic, like if you hear it live, it sounds almost exactly like the record.
Like you're dropping the needle, and we're going, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Minus the
again, we played it like a zillion times now.
Right.
Yeah. Which is it's like the law of 1,000 hours or whatever the thing, or 10,000 hours. Like once you just, and that's where the groove comes from too, because we're just playing around with it a little bit.
Oh, dude.
After a time,
and that was. Oh my God! Like that's the thing that struck me too. It was just constant groove.
That's the most important thing to me, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. It just you could not help. I like driving backcountry roads like I do, and I was just sitting there. I was like, oh my God! Every riff it just had this groove to it, and melody.
For me, man, like for groove is like like one of the most important things, and like pointing to the Caius hat, like when me and Bill went to see them, like now it feels like ages ago, and we got to do the the meet and greet before the show, and I got to meet Brant before the show, and he's making the comment like, for me, he's the king of groove, man. Like some of the songs that he puts through, like
for sure,
it just makes you want to make that face, man. Like it's just it's so tasty.
It's the stank face, man.
It makes you want to make that face. That's the most important.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, coming back to film clips, I think Great Machine would have been one of the first ones I seen of Caius back when I was a young lad, man. I was instantly blown away. That one and 1 Inch Man, it was just fucking unbloody real. I was like, what the hell is this, man? This is so fucking cool, man.
Life changing.
Oh yeah,
life changing, man.
Something that still sticks with me, man. And killer band, dude.
Yeah. They are absolutely once in a lifetime band. They're so incredible.
It had a great sound to them. Hexling, it does drop on the 21st, which isn't too far away, guys. What, without giving anything away, what's the plans looking forward with Ol Time Moonshine?
Christopher?
We're looking just to, get writing this new album as soon as possible, get in the studio, but I'm just itching to play some shows, man. We got a show Saturday night, but I want to get on the stage, man. I love playing with these guys, and it's always good times. Yeah, man. Like with the lineup we have now, fuck, man, it's just like the live show is just destruction, man. Like, we don't hold anything back. Like it's like I said, like it's like putting the needle on the record. What you hear on the album is what you're going to see on stage. It's
yes, sir.
It's note for note.
So what is the live scene like, guys? Is this the first show back for a while? Like you just haven't played this year, or is this the first show with the lineup you got now? Or
we took some time off to do a little bit of writing already, so that's why we haven't really been out much this year. But we played a fair bit, after the release of Magic last year.
Yeah,
and it's getting stronger. I mean, since COVID, the bar scene isn't quite back to normal yet. I would say it's maybe 60% of attendance compared to previously. So people are still a little bit leery about congregating and getting silly and tipsy together. So we still have had really great shows with
indeed, sir.
It's just amazing to look up and like see a wall of people. They're just all banging their heads in unison, and it feels good.
You got some good venues over that way. I know over here we lost a couple of venues, and it's still happening that actually putting on metal bands and rock bands and punk bands, but there's still some good venues. What's it like over that way?
Same. We lost quite a few, but we still do have our staples. We still have our Bovine. We still have quite a few other places, but like a lot of the smaller towns and cities along the way, like, which sucks for us because like in the States you can drive an hour and be in a major city. Like, fuck, for us we be driving for hours, man, and we're driving to other small towns, right? So it makes a huge difference. But
who knows? He was in Australia for a while, come over and visit. He had family in Australia as well. He knows the distances. Like, even though Australia's the size of America, the distance between towns is fucking huge. It's kind of like Canada as well. Like, where I've got to go to my closest city, I've got to drive 300 Ks to actually get to a record store. I had to drive 150 Ks the other day. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. That's far. Yeah, man. That's the same thing for us. Like at least Saturday, our drive was maybe about like $1.50. So hour and a half. That's nothing.
That's not too bad. And then having
when
venues,
you're pushing the 4 hours,
and then having those same venues put on actual original bands. You know what I mean? You're going into these small towns in between. They're only going to put on people that press play on their deck or people that are playing other people's music, which kind of bugs the shit out of me at times.
I won't come on that because I do have some friends that play in cover bands.
Oh, so do I.
I'd rather play original music personally. I just and I'd
we
rather
can't even pick a cover song for Christ's sake.
No.
We argue about that all the time.
14 years, and I think it's been 14 years, and we've done maybe 2 covers. So and only one.
If that.
Awesome, guys. We might sign out there unless Jim wants to chuck in. Anything, Jim?
No, I'm good.
Killer, guys. I think we've chewed up enough of your time. Look, Bill, Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure to get to chat with you guys. Find out a little bit more about Ol Time Moonshine. Do you have any last words, shout outs, thank yous, anything I may have forgotten, or anything you want to chuck in there, my friends?
I just want to say a big thank you to you for talking to us and getting to know about us and showing your viewers our music, and we really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure, mate.
Sir.
Yeah, man. Thank you for that fucking voice message this morning, dude. I can't even lie, man. That made me that rocked my day, and that made me ready to fucking destroy.
I hope I wasn't intruding on you at all. I was just
no way, man. that made me ready to destroy the stage on Saturday. So that show on Saturday will be dedicated to you, man.
No. Oh, God bless you. No, cool. That's wonderful.
Have a great show, guys, on Saturday. Tear it up, and we will chat
man.
Again in the future. Thank you very much, Chris and
Can't
Bill.
wait, guys.
Cheers, guys.
All the best.
Later, man.
Thank you. Killer.
Oi, you're tuned in to Jai, that Aussie metal guy, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his sick content. And remember, stay brutal, you legend.